oscillators, and we will adopt a technique wherein we will design design a Wayne bridge oscillator first, and then we'll study its operation. Okay, so just to start, we'll just overview our feedback block diagram. Earlier we have used the same block diagram to explain a negative feedback. Here for oscillators we require mostly the positive feedback. Okay, so in this block diagram I have a summer which will add my feedback signal. My feedback signal is capital U over here. My X is my input and my Y is my output. So my amplifier is of gain A1, and this is my error signal basically. Okay, so here X and Y, which are inputs and output, can be a voltage or a current. A1 is the open loop gain of the amplifier, and K or beta. Now remember, most of the textbooks use beta, but I have used over here as K. It is called as the feedback fraction or the feedback factor. And the closed loop gain is given by Y upon X, that we all know, which is also termed as AF. And here over here the error signal is X plus U. Remember, in negative feedback it was X minus U, here it is X plus U. So the gain of the feedback network over here, this is my feedback network. So gain of any network is output upon input. Here my input to the feedback network is Y and my output is U. So the gain of the feedback network is U upon Y. And once you derive this closed loop gain, you will get this form. For a positive feedback, AF is equal to, the closed loop gain is equal to A1 upon 1 minus K times A1. Okay, so when do we call it a positive feedback? Whenever my feedback signal U is getting added up to the input signal X. Okay, earlier in case of a negative feedback it was getting subtracted, but in this case the feedback signal is getting added with the input. So that is what you mean by a positive feedback. Fine, so with this knowledge, also one more thing you note that here in the denominator we have 1 minus K times A1. So basically whenever this K times A1 approaches close to 1, I'll have a very high gain. Okay, the AF will be very high. So in case of positive feedback, my closed loop gain is greater than my open loop gain. It is exactly reverse as in case of a negative feedback. In negative feedback, the closed loop gain was less than open loop gain. In case of positive feedback, the open loop gain is less than the closed loop gain. I hope that point is clear. Now we'll go to a second objective, that is sinusoidal oscillators. Now these are also waveform generator. Now which type of waveform they are generating? Sinusoidal in nature. That's why they are categorized as sinusoidal oscillators. Now here, if you have already, we have already discussed this in the previous lectures while discussing the square wave oscillator or a square wave generator, that oscillator requires no input. Okay, so here you can see there is no input at all. The circuit itself drives itself and produces oscillations. Okay, so no external AC input is applied in case of oscillators. And here again I have my amplifier with a gain A, feedback network with a gain of K, and I have my VF, which is my feedback signal. Now here I have written V out and VF. Why I have written? This was a general block where Y and X can be a voltage or a current. But in case of, in this case, in sinusoidal oscillators, we are sure that the output is in the form of a voltage and my feedback signal is also in the form of a voltage. So hence I have written over here, output is V out and my feedback signal is VF. Now the feedback factor is given by the formula K is equal to VF upon V out. Now you might wonder why not V out upon VF? Remember that the input to the feedback network is V out and the output is VF. That's why the formula is, for the feedback factor, K is given by VF upon V out. Okay, and there are some vital observations with regard to the oscillator, sinusoidal oscillator. So just a formal definition I have written over here. So oscillator is a circuit that generates repetitive periodic waveforms of fixed amplitude and frequency without any external input signal. So that's the formal definition of any oscillator circuit. And we have already studied the square wave, triangular wave, sawtooth wave oscillator. So it definitions applies to that also. Now there is something called as Barkhusen's criteria of oscillations. I hope that you know this for sure. So just there are two statements in it. If A is my capital A is my gain of my amplifier network and K is the gain of my feedback network, then according to the Barkhusen's criteria for oscillations, the total phase shift, that is the angle of A into K around the loop, must be 0 degree. Okay, now which loop we are talking about? We are talking about this loop. So as the signal proceeds from this side, from the left of the amplifier to the feedback network and back to the amplifier, the entire loop should have a phase shift of 0 degrees. Okay, so that what it means, that the total phase shift, that is A into K around the loop, must be 0 at the desired frequency of oscillations. Now F naught is my frequency of oscillations. Now also at F naught, the magnitude of the loop gain must be slightly greater than unity. It's actually, we have studied equal to 1, but it should be slightly greater than unity, maybe around it's around 1, right? So here, even if we keep it as around 1.01, that will also suffice. We'll look into it, why we don't keep it exactly at 1 and why we keep it as slightly greater than or equal to 1. Okay, so at the frequency of oscillations, the magnitude of the loop gain, and loop gain is basically A into K. So basically the magnitude of amplifier gain into the magnitude of the feedback network gain. Okay, so that is collectively termed as a loop gain. So that must be slightly greater than unity. Okay, any doubts so far, anyone? Or else we can proceed ahead. In Barkhusen's criteria for oscillations. Okay. Okay, so the third point will be the op-amp based oscillators. So in this subject, uh, in this LICD linear integrated circuit subject, there are two kinds of oscillators which we have to analyze in details. Both are in the category of low frequency oscillators, and you must have studied the transistor level implementation of them. Today we will be studying the op-amp based implementation of the Wien bridge oscillator and the RC phase shift oscillator. Okay, fine. Now let us directly start with the design. So I'll request you all to note down the statement, that is the design a Wien bridge oscillator for a frequency of oscillations of 1000 Hertz. So we have to design a sinusoidal oscillator which will be running at 1000 Hertz. Okay. So here is my circuit diagram. I have not explained anything about the Wien bridge oscillator. First we are designing it directly, and then later on we'll come back to its operation. Okay, so we have to design a op-amp based Wien bridge oscillator for which is producing the sinusoidal oscillations at a frequency of 1000 Hertz. So this is my circuit diagram. So as you can see, it's predominantly positive feedback over here. We have one RC element over here, series RC element, and one is parallel RC element. And I mean, we have negative feedback also, but here the positive feedback is little bit more dominant over the negative feedback. And here, as you can see, there is no external input applied at all. So as soon as you power up the op-amp, this circuit will start oscillating and produces sinusoidal oscillations if all the Barkhusen's criteria is met, all the conditions are met. Okay, so op-amp, I can use it as OP07 or a faster op-amp, and I can have to design means here in this case we have to design it for the frequency of around 1000 Hertz. So design means we have to determine the unknown value of resistors R1, RF, R and C. Okay, so just remember that we have three sections over here. So first section is the negative feedback provided via RF and R1. The second one is the series RC element, and the third one is the parallel RC element. Okay, fine. So we'll start with the frequency of oscillations of a Wien bridge oscillator formula. So we will derive that, don't worry. Right now, first we will design it, and then we'll try to understand it in LT spice. So F naught is given by 1 upon 2 pi RC. where F naught is 1 kilohertz, that is around 1000. So here there are two unknowns, R and C. It's normally preferred to assume the value of C. So the capacitor value, we can assume it to be a lesser value in maybe in a nanofarad. So let C equal to 1 nanofarad. Then the value of R will be given by 1 upon 2 pi into 10 raised to 3 into 1 into 10 raised to 9. Now the R, if you calculate it in a calculator, you will get around 159.15 kilo ohms. You can easily select a standard value if you are doing the same experiment in the lab on a breadboard. So you will select the nearest standard value. Okay. Right now it's not needed because we are directly going to implement this in LT Spice. Fine. Now you will understand and appreciate why we selected a lower standard value. If you would have selected a the C as 1 nanofarad, if you would have selected a microfarad, the resistor would have gone in mega ohms. And in your design, remember one thing: the resistors should never be in ohms, nor it should be in mega ohms. Okay, remember that fact. Okay, that are some issues which we'll be discussing in the coming lectures. Ki why we cannot take resistors in ohms in few less than 100 ohms or greater than around 1 or 2 mega ohms. We always select in the range of kilo ohms. Okay, so we have got the value of R and C. So these are my frequency sensitive elements, that is R and C, R and C. So these values we can substitute over here. I mean, we can put these values in the LT Spice and we can check whether we are getting a desired output or not. Okay. Now next is the amplifier gain. Now as you can see clearly that this is kind of an amplifier also with V plus terminal acting as an input. So basically there is no input over here, right? But if we consider this feedback signal is acting as an input to this amplifier, correct? So even though there is no external input, there is internal input to the amplifier, because if we don't apply anything to the amplifier, it won't work, right? So basically this circuit over here, this op-amp over here is working in the non-inverting mode, because over here V plus is acting as an input, internal input. So if this is if my input is applied to the non-inverting terminal, this amplifier is basically a non-inverting amplifier whose gain is given by A is equal to 1 plus Rf upon R1. So here it is. The amplifier gain is A is equal to 3. It is required over here. And non-inverting amplifier, actually this is also we will see that why in a Wayne bridge oscillator the amplifier gain should be 3. This we are not assuming, this is a fact. Okay, we'll come back to this point. So the amplifier gain should be 3, and this is a non-inverting amplifier, so whose gain is given by A is equal to 1 plus Rf upon R1. So that means 1 plus Rf upon R1 should be 3. That means Rf should be twice of R1. Now we have already seen that to start the oscillations we have to keep A into K greater than or equal to 1 at the startup. Now why this is required, again when we will discuss the Wayne bridge oscillator in detail, that time we will make this point clear. Okay, so just you have to select at the start the gain should be slightly above 3. Okay, so we have to select Rf equal to twice R1. So we can assume the value of R1 as 10 kilo ohm. So normally the value of Rf should be 20, but since we have to keep the gain slightly above 3, we can select the value of R2 as a standard value 22 kilo ohm. Now if you recalculate the gain, it will be 1 plus Rf upon R1, that will be 1 plus 22k divided by 10k, which will be equal to 3.2, which is just greater than 3. So with this, if my gain is just greater than 3, then my A into K will be slightly greater than or equal to 1 at the startup. So that will help you to produce, that will help the circuit to produce sustained oscillations. Now the last step is to draw the designed circuit. So let me just minimize this a little. Okay, I need to minimize this a little more. Yeah, so this is my design circuit. So here is my op-amp. Rf value is 22k, R1 is 10 kilo ohm, R is 159.15 kilo ohm, C is 1 nanofarad, and here also R and C is 159 kilo ohm and 1 nanofarad. Okay. Any doubts in this, anyone? Or we shall produce to, we said go to the, the LT spice simulation for the same. Any doubts, anyone? I hope that the design is clear. It's very, very plain and straightforward. Yeah, thank you. So we'll go to a reflection spot where we will simulate the circuit in LT spice and verify the values. Okay. Okay, let me adjust this. Okay, now already the circuit is made available for your reference. So this is my Wayne bridge oscillator circuit. Let me arrange it. Okay, I have to reduce this also. Okay, fine. This also might make it 10. Okay, fine. So basically this is my design circuit. Let me make it around 15. Yeah, I hope that this is clear now. So here I couldn't use the same terminology because here we cannot write the same name. So op-amp which we have selected over here is LT1001. Basically, if you see over here, if I right click over here, it's a precision operational amplifier. So it is suited for this, oscillator kind of applications. OP07 will also work, but it's not, uh, it doesn't work for all the frequencies. I mean, it's not suited for a, a kilohertz frequency range. OP07, it's limited because of its slew rate. Fine. So here I have my R1. This is actually R1, sorry, RF. RF is 22K. Here instead of R1, I have labeled it as R3. That doesn't matter. The value should be same. And here, since we cannot rename the same components with the same name, that's why we have to rename it as R1C1, R2C2. Okay, that's the only motivation to change the name, because the LT Spice doesn't take the same name. It will give you error. So over here, my value of C is 1 nanofarad and value of R is 159 kilo ohms. So over here, this is a parallel network. So parallel network also my, the capacitor value is 1 nanofarad and R is around 159 kilo ohms. Okay, so here we have powered the op-amp with plus or minus 10 volt supply. Yes, 10 volt supply, and we need to set the gain of the non-inverting amplifier slightly more than 1. Actually, I've already covered this point. It's gain of this circuit is 3.2. Now let me simulate this. Remember, there is no AC input. The circuit will directly generate the sinusoidal output. Let's hope so. So let me simulate. Click on run. And I will be plotting the output waveform. V out. Yeah, you can see the waveform slightly gets built up, and then it attains a sustained oscillations. That means it's of a constant frequency and amplitude. So if I expand this, it's not so great. Basically, it's getting, if you see, notice carefully, it's not exactly, look, it's more or less a sine wave, but slightly there is some clipping happening. Okay, we will come back to this point, a little later when we'll study the topic in detail. Right now, let's verify what's the peak to peak amplitude. So I'll go to the cursor and keep it over here, maximum point, and go to the cursor again and measure the peak. So I'm getting around 18.119. So here the amplitude of oscillations is given by 18.119 volts. Okay, theoretically we don't need to find that. Fine, now let us check the frequency of oscillations. Now this circuit was designed to give 1000 hertz. Let's say how much we are getting over here. Okay, so I'll expand this a little more, and for one complete cycle it should be right. So let's say I'll keep it over here and I'll take another cursor. It basically I'll measure the one time period, right? So here is my second cursor. Okay, I have to keep it over here, the second one, and the first one over here. Yeah. Okay, I will have to adjust this properly so that I get a proper, Yeah, I guess more or less it's similar now. So here you see 975. This is basically the difference in the time period. So 1 upon time period will give you frequency. So here we are getting around 975, as you can see, 975.79 hertz. So that's a simulated value which is quite close to 1000 hertz. So that's quite acceptable, because here the we have op-amp and we have various resistors. So that's fine, and we have not substituted exactly 159.15. We have just substituted 159. If we, I'm sure that if we substitute that value, you will get a much closer answer. Okay, so that's how we get the measure the frequency. The frequency is coming out to be 975 hertz. Now if you look carefully in this waveforms, it's perfectly building up, starting to build up as an oscillator. So that's how the principle works. But here the only limitation of this circuit is, as you can see, there is a slight clipping at the output levels of the amplitude. Okay, so apart from this circuit is producing sinusoidal oscillations of a frequency of 975 hertz instead of 1000 hertz. Okay, any doubts over here, or else we can proceed? Okay,
Sir, can you
so
change the
you
supply voltage?
can you change the supply voltage? Okay, okay, I'll change it to 12. What do you want? 12.
12, it's okay.
Okay, I'll put 12 volts, and then I'll simulate it again. It's the same thing, is only, as you can see clearly, basically this is my plus Vset and minus Vset. Are you understanding? So it is settling down the maximum, it is settling down at plus or minus Vset. I'll explain you all, don't worry about this. So any more doubts in this? This is basically, if I measure this amplitude, this is nothing but your plus Vset, and this is nothing but your minus Vset. Okay, any doubts in this other than that?
No, sir.
Okay, now the gain criteria is satisfied. How does the phase shift criteria is satisfied? Anyone? So over here, the two RC elements which we have, the series one and the parallel one, that the phase shift, that is a feedback network basically. So this R1 C1 and R2 C2 forms the feedback network. Correct? So this feedback network provides a phase shift of 0, because at resonance at f naught, at 100 at around 1000 hertz, this the phase shift provided by both the series RC and the parallel RC network will be 0. We will see that in detail when we'll study the theory. Don't worry about it. Okay, and how the other phase shift is satisfied? You remember, this is an amplifier, non-inverting amplifier, and non-inverting amplifier, the phase shift is already 0. So that's how the phase shift criteria is satisfied. Okay, so I think this is it what I want to cover in this lecture, that is 24A. Next we'll go into the next topic. Okay, fine.